the very beginning of training, I was all in khaki with my machete, and I was cutting God knows what, and that was in Puerto Rico, because we were trained in Puerto Rico, where we spent like 2.5 months. This was in training. When we were in training, we had a lot of classes, but we also had tie-dyeing, so each one would work on their thing, and after that I did it in the village too, and we would often sell them. That was a party, and it was when we left, just before we left Puerto Rico. And then we flew to Kennedy Airport, and we flew to Senegal. When we first got to the village, we walked through that high grass, and it was way over my head, and we got to a depression, and there was all those plastic the bottom of those plastic that had been cut, and then that man, almost naked, came down, wine or that juice from the palm tree, palm wine they called it. And if you drank it in the morning, it was okay. If you drank it later, it was very strong. So that was President Diouf. When we arrived there in 1987, he was the president, and he came to a village close to ours. That was the group that we got to Senegal with. There was, I think, 25 of us, and most of all of us, which was unusual, didn't come back to the States until their tour was over. That was the first vegetable that we collected, and that was cabbages. This is a baobab. Again, you see the side. I mean, they are tremendous trees. And this is a baobab, which is the typical tree of Senegal, and I suppose maybe of other part of Africa. I don't know. It looks like an upside-down tree, because it looks like the roots are in the air, and they are huge. Look at me, I go next to it. And the Ishal, he would wait for me when we would go to the city of Ziguinchor, which was about 15 kilometers. We would bicycle, and we would wait for each other at that same area, almost, whoever got there first. That was our arrival at the village, and the village was extended, so we had maybe 3/4 of a kilometer. We would have to get to the center of the village, and we had to dance all the way. When we arrived, they had not quite finished our hut, and everybody was very excited, and we were just outside the hut waiting for the cement to dry, and it was like a big deal. Because after the rainy season, it rots, and then, of course, the water came. This is inside of our hut in Senegal. There was 2 doors and 1 window, but there was nothing. You couldn't close it. So I had some dental floss, and I bought some material, and I cooked everything I sewed with dental floss. It was really in the middle of nowhere, but about 15 kilometers from a bigger town called Ziguinchor. Every morning, that was the father of the family, there was that stone near our entrance, and every morning at 6 or 7, he would come and sharpen his tool on that stone. You had those little pieces of they were your seed, they were your table. That's all the seed that we had. That's in the middle of building a well, and we did that. We would have to make the bricks, and then we would have taken to the site. We all had to have a project, and we decided we would make the margelles, that means wells, and we put cement around so it would be cleaner and everything. That was an invitation at the village. He didn't really was not part of the village. He had a little store, and he had invited us for dinner. That the women, they were getting ready the cloths for tie-dye. We did tie-dyeing maybe once a month. This is another village where we went. We took all our books and our teacher and whatever to learn about, well, how other villages worked. So we would have classes and everything, and we would go through that desert and live within another family. picking up mangoes. The women finishing their dinner or their lunch. That's little Papis, which was my little friend, and he would come have a breakfast with us, which was usually rice or something like that. And he was not supposed to do it, and we would eat with spoon there. So he loved it because he felt very grown up. This when we worked on the garden, vegetable garden, with mostly men. There was a lot of young men, and then we would always stop for lunch. On this one is making the cajendo, the main part of where they turn the ground. So that's another one of the cajendo. That the women who work like crazy, they are collecting the rice when it's ready. And then there is one that whistle, and then she whistle and everybody start dancing. That was the father of the family, because all the children and the grandchildren lived together. And they had built us that little house on the side. I mean, that mud house, as a matter of fact. And this is one of our gardens. And it's after the rainy season, and it doesn't last very long, because after that it's dry. But it grows very fast, and we could dig a hole, and we would have water. Here they are, usually it's during Ramadan when they cannot eat all day, they cannot drink all day. They make those fires, evaporate the seawater, and you have a big block of salt that they break afterwards, put it in tiny pieces of paper, and walk 15 miles to sell it for, I don't know, 5 cents or whatever, to the nearest town. And it's really a very, very hard job, because it's hot, and they have to keep the fire going. And they're working with salt and they can drink. So that was when Lorenzo was working on the Darsalam sign. Everybody was looking, thinking it was wonderful, and which is the name of our village. Charles and I were so glad to know that our son made it. That's a couple of the beauties next to the tie-dye that they did. They had a lot of ideas. They tie it, they put a shell in it to give it a different shape, and then they would wear them. That was one of the young sons. Actually, we stayed with that family, and the husband had like 5 wives, and I don't know how long. Well, they got along, all ages, as a matter of fact. This is one thing that we did every day. That was a lesson of Giola, because we spoke Giola, and he's making the tea. And it's very interesting. It's a green tea. You make it 3 times. The first time it's very strong, not very sweet. The second time it's lighter and quite sweet. And the third time it's very light and very sweet. And they give the tea leaves to the children. There's usually 2 glasses, and you pass the glass, and everybody drink out of the same glass. I was a woman, so I was the first one to drink. That was mango. I mean, our village was full of mangoes everywhere. Charles coming back, I think he had gone, there was a school at the village, and he had gone, and they were coming. Those 4 children lived in the house where we were. This is one of the pirogue. That's a typical boat that they have around, Senegal, of course, when you're near the water. So we had gone to an island, and we had gone in a boat like that. And they're very, very heavy, but I don't know, they're seaworthy. We went away to that island for Christmas. There is the island of Gorée, which is a few, about 15 minutes from the mainland. And another view of Gorée. This is the main building where the the black people, the future slave, would go up and go to the boat that would take them abroad. And often, if they were sick or whatever, they just put them in the water. And that was the last they would see of their cities. This is Lorenzo at the fort on Goree Island. And Gorée is just maybe 15 minutes from the mainland, and that's where the slave used to live for, the United States and wherever they went. At a certain time of the year, there is all that cotton that comes from a certain tree, and it looks just like snow. Now that Charles working on his income tax, going crazy, even in Africa. This we're back in the village of Darsalam, and I'm carrying, that was her lunch, she must have been in there, and I'm carrying it back to the main house. That was her hut. This is her bathroom, and you can see all the mangoes on the side, and absolutely no privacy. The kids would be in the mango tree, but anyway, that was our bathroom. That's the mango, the village had many, many mango trees, and the children would play on it until somebody from the town would pick them up. This is the day of la pesée des bébés. That's the day when the women come and they weigh their babies and they give them some formulas or powdered milk. So this is the Catholic sister that do that. Every once in a while the women would all go out for the day. So we would take the rice, and they would do different things, and mostly eat and spend the day talking. And we would go in the jungle somewhere. Some of the men spoke some French, especially the one that had gone during the war, but the women, very, very seldom, unless they spoke French if they had been a maid in the city. I mean, she had been a maid and her French was very, very good. And it was a baptism, so they had dressed me the way they dress. This is another back-breaking thing. We are putting the rice, we're planting the rice, so that means that you're always bent, your feet are in the water and you don't know what's in the water, but I don't know what it is worse, to put it in the ground or to harvest it. There we were in Saint Louis, and I think we were visiting the town. They have those ant thing, and they are hard like wood, I mean like rock, and they are huge. And they were here and there and everywhere. And that's when we left the village. Charles went to the big city, Ziguinchor, and he went to get the father a brand new bicycle. When he brought it back, the father was praying, and he looked and he said, "Oh, you would have given me an helicopter, I wouldn't have been happier." Then the bicycle, we didn't see it for 2 weeks, and one day he got the bicycle out, got all dressed up in blue, and went to all the villages, tell what he had gotten as a farewell present.